Okay, class, today we're going to be doing analyzing graphs and quadratic functions. So I know the first thing I need to do is I need to figure out my vertex. So in order to figure out my vertex, I'm going to go to my calculator. I'm going to go to y equals, and I'm going to plug in that equation. So I have x squared plus 4x plus 3. So now that I see that in my calculator, I'm going to go look at my graph. I want to figure out what my vertex is, and so I can kind of see where it is on the calculator. But because I know that this is at the bottom, I have a mean value, I'm going to hit second trace, and then I'm going to hit number 3 so I can find my mean value. So it's telling me to put my cursor on the left side, so I'm going to move over to the left, and I'm going to hit enter. Then it tells me to put it on my right, so I'm going to move over to the right side, and I'm going to put enter. And then I'm going to hit enter again. And it's going to tell me my vertex is at -2, -1. So I'm going to go over here and write my vertex at -2, -1. Remember, you always write your vertex in the middle. So now I'm going to graph that point, -2, -1 on my graph. It'll be about right here. So now I want to know my axis of symmetry. Okay, guys, your axis of symmetry is where it's going to go through your parabola. Because that's the vertex, you know that I can draw a line through the vertex that would give me symmetry on both sides. So that means my axis of symmetry is always going to be my x. So it's x equals -2. Because this the leading coefficient is positive, I know that I'm going to have a minimum value. And your minimum value, the bottom of that graph, is always going to be where it sits on. And it's going to be the y of your vertex. So my y is going to be a -1. So remember, you use these two numbers to find your axis of symmetry and your min or your max. Now remember, your domain of a quadratic is always all real numbers. Because we always read left to right. So it's going to be all real numbers. And your range is going to be the highest and the lowest. So my lowest point, again, is the -1. So all my y's are greater than or equal to -1. Now your roots are where it crosses the x-axis. So if I go back to my calculator here and I go look at my graph, remember your roots are also called your zeros. So your roots are wherever your y values are 0. So I can see right here I have y values of 0 at -3, -1. So my roots are going to be -3, -1. Now, I don't want you to get confused on how to find roots. That's the same as if I factor this and set them both equal to 0. So now you're going to fill in the other 2 points from your graph and graph those points as well. Let's look at number 2 now. Okay, now I want to know my vertex is. Well, this one is in vertex form. So I know that my vertex is going to be at the opposite of h, so it's going to be 2 and 0. So I always put my vertex in the middle, 2 and 0. So I'm going to go over here . I'm going to go over here and I'm going to plug that point. Not sure where that line is over there, but we're going to ignore that for now. So based on what we just said, I know my axis of symmetry is just going to be x equals 2. And I know that because it's positive here, it's going to be going up, so I have a min value. So my min value is going to be 0. because I have a parabola, I know that my domain is going to be all real numbers. And my range, remember, is top to bottom. The bottom of it's going to be 0. So all my y's are greater than or equal to 0. And what you should notice is because my vertex is 2, 0, then it's going to be sitting on that graph. Therefore, my roots, in this case, are also 2. Because that's where my y value is 0. Okay, so let's go to the next page. Okay, now I look at this, I can tell this is in roots form. So because this is in roots form, I can go straight to my roots and say my roots is going to be a positive 2 and a negative 2. And remember from the other sheet, in order to find my vertex, I can add those two together. So if I add 2 plus negative 2 together, I'm going to get 0. 0 divided by 2 is going to be 0. So I know that my vertex x is a 0. Which tells me my axis of symmetry is also a 0. Now, in order to find my y value, I'm going to plug that in here. So if I plug a 0 in here and a 0 here, I'm going to end up with negative 2 times negative 2 times 2, which is going to give me a positive 8. So I know I'm going to have 0, 8. I'm going to go over to my graph. I'm going to do 0, 8. So that also tells me because this is negative, I'm going to have a, that's correct, max value. And that max value is going to be y at 8. My domain, again, is going to be all real numbers. And because I have a max value, guys, that means that's going down. So you know all my y's have to be less than or equal to 8. And you can always plug it in to find your, plug it in your calculator to find your other values. Or you can plug your negative 1 and your negative 2 and your 1 and 2 into the equation to find your y values. Okay, class, I want you to look at the next page and I want you to work those 6 problems and I'll see you tomorrow. Have a good day.